Ladies and gentlemen, hello there and welcome to another edition of the 205 Live NXT UK recap show right here on Fightful Select. I am Mr. Warren Hayes, and as per usual, we're going to be talking about 3 tip-top hours of programming that WWE has to offer every week. No, I'm not talking about Raw. What are you talking about? I think I'm stupid. It's a pleasure to have you. I don't know if you guys are joining me live here because then you can see me choke right in front of you. Maybe I will die by the end of this episode. Maybe it'll be legit. If you are watching live, thank you very much for joining me in the live chat. We do these live at 10 p.m. Eastern, only for Fightful Select members. That's only for you guys. All of you who have decided to support Fightful, we can't thank you enough. All of us here at Fightful Select, it's really the best way to support everything we do, right? I say this every week, but it is entirely true. And you get a whole bunch of extra content, retro reviews that I do with Sean. You have Steven Jensen, who has the Weekender podcast that he does every weekend. And Sean does a whole bunch of stuff as well. He does the backstage report. He has Q&A sessions. There's a whole bunch of stuff. Hopefully, you have taken the time to take full advantage of your tier, right? It's at the very high levels of tier goodness. You can even ask us to do stuff. We can be your performing monkeys and do whatever you tell us to. If you give us enough money. Wrestling related, of course. Get it? We may be behind a paywall, but we do have standards. So anyway, thank you everyone for being here this evening, and not much in the realm of news regarding our three brands here this week. However, it was broken earlier today that that NXT has decided to rename a bunch of their talent. A lot of them for trademark purposes, others who will benefit from an easier name to pronounce. But for instance, Paul Ellering's daughter, Rachel Ellering, was referred to as Rachel Evers in NXT, and now she'll be back to being referred to as Rachel Ellering. And to me, that's a good thing. Former NFL player Brennan Williams is now Dio Madden. Dan Matha is going to be known as Dorian Mack from now on. MJ Jenkins is going to go by her birth name, which is Monique Jenkins. Malcolm Bivens, formerly known as Stokely Hathaway, has been finally given the name Courtney Moore. That is Courtenay, and I find that it fits him perfectly. I dig it. Robert Strauss, who was in Impact, known as Robbie E, will now be known as Robert Stone. Nick Comoroto is now Nick Ogarelli, and Scott Parker and Shane Matthews, tag team known as 3.0. I had forgotten that NXT had picked them up. They'll be using their real names, Jeffrey Parker and Matthew Menard Lee. How about that? That's they usually bring the names a little more, sort of bring them down, simplify them, right? That's very interesting. So there you go. Another batch of name changes on y'all NXT roster. All names you're going to have to learn to live with from this point on moving forward. So let's go and talk about 205 Live. Why don't we start with 205 Live? 205 Live, it's a fun show. And it was a special show this week. It was rather special. I got to tell you guys, if you hadn't had the chance to take a look at this week's edition of 205 Live, you're missing out on something great. But let's talk about it. Let's start. Well, listen, what you did miss out on and what you can completely skip is, well, okay, hang on. I'm getting ahead of myself. I swear, I swear I'm prepared. I have a format. I just apparently sometimes choose not to follow the format for reasons I can't necessarily explain to you. But here, let's roll back. 205 Live started actually with Drew Gulak, who retained the Cruiserweight Championship this weekend at Extreme Rules in a fantastic match against Tony Nese. So cementing the fact that it wasn't a fluke, that he is better than Nese. And he basically lets us know that this is his 205 Live now. I'm here for it. Did you guys see the match? Man, that was some good stuff. That's some great aggressive Drew right there. I believe in Drew Gulak as Cruiserweight Champion. May he have a long, healthy reign. Next, we have Akira Tozawa versus Samir Singh. And look, I am going to gloss over this, aside from pointing out the fact that I will never get tired of Tozawa doing the running cannonball off the apron to the floor into the barricade on a dude. That will never get old until he kills himself. Until he just can't do it anymore, I guess. It's a fantastic move. But what was I telling you guys? Was it last week or the week before? How it's just cemented it about the Singh brothers is what I'm trying to get at. To this week's episode of 205 Live just cemented to me that the Singh brothers aren't bringing anything to the table. They're just not giving anything back to 205 Live. They just aren't there. They're not necessarily there as a tag team, but as a tag team, they're not as bad as singles competitors. And again, this week we get one of the Singh brothers in a singles match, and it's just a dud. It's not bad. It's just really, really flat. There's nothing going on. A lot of grandstanding. A whole bunch of stuff that just doesn't connect. And I don't think they're fit. They're a fit for the Cruiserweight division. I really don't. But anyway, this match basically served to set up Brian Kendrick and Akira Tozawa versus the Singhs, which I am not looking forward to. Or maybe Akira will be able to pull some magic out of his bag of tricks. You thought I was going to say something else because I'm behind the paywall, but Warren Hayes doesn't. Warren Hayes does get surprised when his Bluetooth speaker turns off. Sorry about that. Mike Kanellis then squashes a guy in the ring. And I mean, it was a squash. It was what it was, but that's not the story. The story that we have to talk about is what happened after the match, and it's not something that you see every day in 205 Live. And I think this kind of made it a little extra special here. As Kanellis gets on the microphone and starts, well, he goes on a rant, essentially. He starts going on post-match, and Drake Maverick comes out to discuss, to tell him, Kanellis, let's take this backstage. And Kanellis is like, nah, I want to talk to you in front of the entire WWE universe. He says his contract expired 2 months ago, and he could have gone anywhere. But he didn't. He wanted to stay here in 205 Live to become the Cruiserweight champion, make his wife proud, and kick Drake Maverick's ass. Well, Drake basically tells him, look, what happened with your wife is not, it has nothing in, it's not my responsibility. You have to take accountability for your actions, Mike Kanellis. And and he starts mocking him for his loss on Raw the other night. Then Kanellis starts mocking Drake Maverick for the 24/7 stuff. Drake says he'll never fight Mike Kanellis because he's not a competitor. He's the general manager of 205 Live. Pardon me. Kanellis then says that he forgot. Kanellis says he forgot that since he forgot that Drake was GM because he's neglected his duties as general manager, chasing the 24/7 title, embarrassing the brand, walking up and down Worcester in his underwear. You know, he calls Drake a joke, but Drake says you're the joke. He calls Drake a joke. Says you're the joke here. Drake says, I never called you, Mike, a joke. And they do some back and forth, prove you're a man, prove you're a man, prove you're a man. And, a man wouldn't let me talk crap about his wife. He keeps poking the bear, basically. And Drake snaps and he slugs Kanellis. And ends up drop kicking him because should we have failed to remember, Drake Maverick is a wrestler. He can wrestle. That's what he does. So, so what made this interesting, like I said, is that we don't see these in-ring segments every day. This is fairly unique to the 205 Live brand in and about itself. We don't see that happen very often. When it does happen, it's really cool. And to have built a storyline in the way they did, because most of the time, the storylines in 205 Live will take place in the ring. There will be matches. They will be built in a very New Japan kind of way, if I do make the comparison. But in this case, it's entirely character driven. I thought it was very interesting and a nice refreshing change in the brand as well. And, well, I'm looking forward to denouement here. Looking forward to Drake Maverick getting back in the ring. Should be a fun time. What if it's Drake Maverick who impregnated Maria Kanellis? That'd be a twist. Well, I called it here on July 17, 2019. Next, folks, your match of the week. Yeah, sure. Let's call it that. Gentlemen, Jack Gallagher versus Chad Gable went to an instant classic that even outshone their match from a couple of weeks ago. This was special. Let's just go ahead and talk about it. They shake hands, sportsmanship, and they lock up, working each other into counters. Gable grounds the action though, and Gallagher counters out of Gable's holds. Gallagher starts working Gable's arms, but he escapes, counters out. They both work in and out of counters for an extended sequence, and it ends in a stalemate. So we're off to the races here, folks. Gable then grounds things some more, but Gallagher gets him into a fireman's carry. Rope hangs Gable, covers him, but only gets two. Gallagher with another arm lock. Gable comes back with arm drags and a cradle, but only gets two. Another huge arm drag gets Gallagher down on the ground and right into an arm lock, which, of course, Gallagher works out of. But then Gallagher breaks out of it. Then he goes back after Gable's arm as well. Gable fights out though from the arm lock, and what he does is he basically deadlifts Jack Gallagher from the arm bar position, right? And he lifts him up. He has him on his shoulder, and he sort of suplex slams him. That was something crazy. Gable then starts working on Gallagher's leg, gets a toe and ankle hold in. Gallagher gets out of it, runs the ropes, and eats a belly-to-belly suplex. And Gable goes right back to work on the leg, the left leg, and the knee as well. Dragon screw leg whip follows. And Gable stays hard on the leg. That's really his plan right here. Gable tries to go for a half crab, but Gallagher avoids it. However, he still eats some strikes. He reverses out of one of those strikes, cradles Gable, but only gets 2. More like counters instead of reverses. Pardon me for my vocabulary. And as soon as Gable kicks out, Gallagher hits him with a drop kick. Gallagher has Gable up into the stalling vertical suplex, drops him, covers him, but again only gets 2. The rolling German is avoided by Gentleman Jack, and Gallagher counters with a Kimura on Gable. Gable then eats a back elbow and a missile drop kick, and Gallagher dumps Gable to the floor. Gallagher then tosses him into the barricade. Gallagher goes back up onto the apron, dives, but it misses. He overshoots it, but I think it was intended because Gable lifts him up into a German onto the floor, reminiscent of their last match. But holy shit, that German suplex sort of last minute turned into a belly-to-back overhead suplex. And Jesus Christ, I have no idea how Jack Gallagher got out of that with his neck still firmly attached and not all wibbly-wobbly. It looked like he landed on it. That was some scary shit, but also some good shit. Back in the ring, we get an inside cradle by Gallagher, but Gable kicks out. Gable hits a tiger bomb, covers for 2, and then transitions into an ankle lock. That was a thing of beauty. Gallagher reverses or sort of tries to counter out of it. He starts hammer fisting Gable while in the lock. And eventually Gable lets go of it, and the crowd is into it. The crowd starts applauding for this. Gable hits a rolling kick. Gallagher headbutts Gable, covers him for 2. They go all strong style on each other in the middle of the ring, while Gable then catches Gallagher on a running corner drop kick, and Gable just drops him with a kind of, I guess, an implant DDT. He covers Gallagher, who kicks out at 2.9. Moonsault by Gable off the top rope, eats a boot to the face. And Gallagher immediately runs in with a running corner drop kick, covers Gable, but Gable puts his foot on the rope to break up the pin. There's some top rope shenanigans that follow. Gallagher goes for a superplex, but Gable midair shifts into a body press. And then Gable hits the rolling German with the bridge, gets the pin. By God, this was something special. This was really, really something unique to me. This was a match of the year candidate. This is the kind of match. This is literally the kind of match that you need to show your friends. I don't want to watch 205 Live. This is the one you say, yeah, but check this out. Oh, there's no good wrestling in WWE. Yeah, but check this out. They have no excuses. There's no excuses when you have 2 guys who put on fantastic matches like this. 2 guys who got the audience behind them, ending in a standing ovation purely on the strength of their performance. This, once again, proves my point that you do not need convoluted storylines. You do not, or even the most basic storylines. You don't need to have scripted drama and weeks of buildup for people to believe in a match and get invested in it if the wrestlers are talented enough to pull it off, to tell their story in the ring, put on a thrilling athletic competition, exhibition, whatever you want to call it, and are able to tell a compelling story within the confines of the match. That's exactly what these 2 guys did here. I have no idea why WWE isn't pushing Chad Gable to the moon. He is literally a modern day Kurt Angle. He is a natural for this. He has every tool to succeed. He has the build, he has the ability, he has the good looks, and he has the charisma. He can be dramatic, he can be goofy, he can do it all. It just blows my mind that they are sitting on this guy and haven't strapped a rocket to him yet. Jack Gallagher is another guy that no one should sleep on. Forget about his ginger hair, his curly mustache, and his pale white skin. This guy is a wrestling pro. He is a genius. What he was able to pull off tonight with Gable was spectacular. And man, did he took a beating. He took a hell of a beating. His body was covered in welts. I loved this match. And I am going to keep clamoring when Match of the Year season comes around for people to not forget this match. This was too good to be set aside. It was better than their classic they had a couple of weeks ago. Check this out. 205 Live. Watch it for come for Kanellis and Maverick. Stay for this match. And never mind the Singh brothers. Apologies for my whatever's stuck in my throat this evening. We'll get rid of it together. Next, we have NXT. NXT. Let's talk about NXT. Fun little episode of NXT tonight. Nothing. I like these episodes of NXT where there's not necessarily one of these huge marquee matches with the well-established talent, but everyone who's on the card works really, really hard, and it turns out to be something fantastic nonetheless. Such as Matt Riddle versus Arturo Juas, who was previously known as Jaud. Anyway, he went through a name change as well, and that's a good idea. Arturo Juas. There's some grappling to start by both guys and a guillotine by Riddle. You can tell quickly off the bat, and even Morrow's sort of marking out here. Well, not literally, yeah. Just play along with me for a second here, folks, if you don't mind. Morrow's going, am I calling an MMA match here right now in NXT? Because that's pretty much what we got to begin with. There's a they really start with some grappling in there. It's some good old fashioned MMA grappling that we have here between both of these guys who have very profound mixed martial arts backgrounds. There's a guillotine by Riddle who slams, but Juas slams Riddle back to the mat. He gets an armbar in. Riddle fights it off. Juas gets the extension in, but Riddle counters out of it and goes for an armbar of his own, but Juas escapes as well. And we're into a stalemate. There's an ankle pick by Juas, and Riddle reaches the ropes to break up an attempt at some kind of clutch or a lock. Riddle lands a kick, but Juas spears him down. Riddle has him in his guard. Juas gets out. They trade some kicks. But there's a final flash knee strike by Matt Riddle. He goes on some ground and pound. Riddle just starts hammer fisting the shit out of Juas, and the ref stops the match. I still like MMA Matt Riddle's matches ending by ref stoppage like this. I like it. I think it's cool. It's a cool gimmick, and it's believable in the context of Riddle's background. So I'm good with this. And Riddle is celebrating. Match is done, but oh, by Jesus, he gets attacked by someone in a hoodie. And we're calling for security, but no, it's not security we need someone who can put down the Northern Ireland nightmare, the Beast of Belfast, Killian Dane. runs in to ruin Riddle's day, and boy, does he ruin his day. He just beats the shit out of Riddle. It's just senton after senton, and he just tosses Riddle around, brings him back up the ramp, tosses Riddle onto at the top of the ramp on the floor, and Dane just runs at him and sentons Riddle, and they crash through the floor at the top of the ramp. It was a hell of a visual. Killian Dane, ladies and gentlemen, he's back. And boy, with an impact and a statement. I can't tell you how happy I am that he's back in NXT. It was a complete and utter shame that Sanity was called up to nothing. At least Alexander Wolf and Dane still have stuff to do. And what a shame! What a shame for Eric Young, who someone recently pointed out to me that he now looks like Bob Holly. He's the new Bob Holly. Then we had the Street Profits cutting a promo on Undisputed Era. I was actually expecting them to start hyping up the main event of next week's Raw. We get footage from a fan's cell phone capturing Mia Yim attacking Marina Shafir, who was coming out of her car. Mia Yim was just beating the hell out of her, and she slams the car door against Shafir. I was like, whoosh! Oh boy! Mia is not taking anything for granted. That's not what I wanted to say. She's not taking prisoners. There we go. She's not taking prisoners. More in-ring action. We get the breakout tournament. The last edition, or the last match of the opening round of the tournament. We get Dexter Lumis versus Bronson Reed, formerly known as Jonah Rock. Dexter Lumis, man, big fan of the Stranger Things original soundtrack. Apparently, has this creepy, focused, psychotic look to him. Well groomed, well shaved, but expressionless until he starts making people feel pain. It's a very intricate gimmick. Wears gloves, like aviator gloves. It's a very, very interesting character that he's developed here, and I'm really looking forward to see where they go with this. But they put this guy's character work over big time. Big time. Dexter Lumis was in, I want to say, Impact or TNA. And he was known as Sam. Ah, man. My brain is faltering right now. But look, I'm going to tell you, he pulls it off really well. He commands a presence. He has the charisma to pull it off. Let's just see where they go with this. Reed starts early off, shoulder tackling Lumis down, but Lumis just jumps right back up. But Reed goes for a second shoulder tackle, and that one staggers Lumis. He picks him up, reverses. Lumis reverses out of it and hits a back elbow on the big Australian. Bronson goes to the outside with Lumis hitting a spinning tope, and he lands on his feet on the outside. But Bronson sees that he's landed on his feet, and he hits a leaping cross body then. There's a throat punch that follows by Lumis to get back in control. Some ground and pound that follows. A neck crank gets him in a good old-fashioned neck crank. It keeps Bronson Reed nice and grounded. And at some point, Lumis even licks Reed's face and he has a big satisfied grin. And I like how he didn't play it off too hammy. like he did the lick and then look into the hard camera, and he sort of licked it and looked off, like, as if he was overcome with some kind of ecstasy, and it was for him. It wasn't for us. There's something very interesting about this character. I'm into it. Bronson eventually finds out of the neck crank. Loomis hits the ropes, but eats a spinning power slam by Reed, who follows in with some forearms, a back body drop, a senton, covers Loomis, but only gets 2. Loomis counters out of a slam into a belly-to-back suplex. There's a leg drop that follows. He covers Reed for 2. Reed avoids a swanton. He drives Loomis into the mat. Then he himself, Bronson Reed, goes up top and hits a big Snuka 5-star super splash and gets the cover. And Reed moves on into the tournament. As far as the breakout tournament goes, this match was solid. Wasn't my favorite, but wasn't as uninteresting as Jordan Miles versus Boa from last week. So right now in the NXT breakout tournament, our second round matches are going to be Bronson Reed versus Cameron Grimes. That should be a slap happy fun time. And then we're going to get Angel Garza versus Jordan Miles. And that should also be tons of fun. Those are 2 really fantastic matches I'm looking forward to. So yeah, as it stands, really, Wack and Wild versus Angel Garza and Isaiah Swerve Scott versus Cameron Grimes were really my favorite matches of the tournament so far. Loomis and Reed wasn't bad, and especially if you want to take a look at Loomis's characterization, that was something. That was really, really compelling. So I'm not telling you it was a bad match. It was fine. It was a solid match. Miles versus Bo, you can fast forward through that one. Tyler Breeze is backstage finishing up a photo shoot, and he meets up with the Forgotten Sons, who inform him that this NXT is not the NXT that Tyler Breeze used to know. Say it's for men, not boys. Tyler Breeze says, "I'm a man. I have a beard." And then he says, "Look, it's nice to see you guys again." And he looks at Jackson Riker and he said, "Weren't you Buddy Murphy?" And I just lost it. I thought that was fantastic. And that just encapsulates everything that I feel about the Forgotten Sons. They're just so lame. And it was good to see Tyler Breeze not as serious as he was over the past couple of weeks, just goofing off a little bit. That, to me, that's gold right there. Next week, we're getting Io Shirai against poor little Casey Catanzaro, who's being fed to the wolves here. She's going to be devoured alive by Assassin Io. Poor Casey. Who did she hurt? Who did she wrong? Technically not our main event, but it turns out that it's the final match of the evening anyway. Kushida versus Apollo Crews, making a return to NXT. Apollo Crews is easily classified, tossed into one of these NXT call-ups that was called up too soon. You can add him with in the same breath as Nia Jax, for instance. Called up way too soon, not because he wasn't capable, not because he didn't have the talent or the charisma to do stuff. He just didn't have the time to define a character for himself, something that he could have his footing in and wouldn't be swerving through different attempts and different identities to try and find something. Because we all knew Apollo Crews had it in him. And what better opponent than Kushida to bring that out? Crews gets a hell of a welcome home. Hell of a reaction from Full Sail. There's match starts off and Crews takes down Kushida with a waist lock. Kushida rolls out of that and floats into a gator roll for a cover, but Crews kicks out. Crews dodges and avoids some of Kushida's offense with his usual athleticism, and finally drop kicks Kushida. Kushida then rolls out of the ring, does some cat and mouse with Crews, which ends up with Crews eating a handspring heel kick. Kushida runs the ropes and eats a pop-up gut buster for his trouble. Stalling vertical suplex by Crews covers Kushida, but only gets 2. And this is where things started to go a little sour for the former ace of the junior division in New Japan. Crews avalanches Kushida, overhead belly to belly suplex. Kushida is just overwhelmed, can't get any offense in. He tries to fight back with some strikes, but Crews tries to stymie him again with an assisted head scissors, holding onto the top turnbuckle. But Kushida blocks it, pops up Crews, and kicks him in the midsection. Hits a back handspring elbow on Crews, a hip toss, a cartwheel, basement dropkick by Kushida follows, running enziguri, springboard tornado DDT, covers Crews, but only gets 2. Kushida starts to yank at Crews's left arm, starts softening it up for the hoverboard lock. He goes for an arm bar, but Crews gets him up in a fireman's carry. He slides out of it, though, runs the ropes, and eats a boot. Crews covers Kushida then, but again, only gets 2. German suplex by Crews follows, goes onto the waist lock, and hits 3 of them Germans. Hits a standing shooting star press, covers Kushida, who kicks out at 2.9. The gorilla press is attempted by Crews, but the left arm has been damaged a little too much. He can't lift Kushida all the way. A reverse STO by Kushida is applied right into the turnbuckle. And goes your boy, Apollo Crews here. Kushida hits a springboard Hurricane Rana that is rolled through by Crews into a small package covering Kushida, but for 2. Overhead kick by Kushida didn't quite connect, if you see what I mean. Instead, there's a leaping enziguri by Crews that follows, and both men are down. Crews goes up top. Kushida goes up after him. There's some shenanigans on the top rope. Handspring double heel strike to Apollo. Stuns Crews up on the top rope. Kushida then grabs him and flies off the top rope with Apollo, kind of like what seemed to be like a Spanish fly. But no, it's Kushida who in midair is applying an armbar. So they land right into the armbar position. Crews tries to avoid it, but Kushida reverses himself or floats over and gets the hoverboard lock in for the win. Hell of a fight. Hell of a match. That was some good shit, pal. That was a great match. I'm not of the crowd that says, bring Apollo Crews back to NXT. There's already there's already a lot of people on NXT in the NXT roster. We just don't see it as much. It's not as obvious because there is some kind of rotation that happens, but there are a lot of people on the NXT roster. And if you start bringing too much of your underused main roster back to NXT, you're effectively eating up spots for wrestlers who are in developmental and or who are newly signed and want to have their own opportunity. And sort of keeping us from seeing some fresh faces. I get at the same time, what's the point of keeping a talented guy like Tyler Breeze or like Killian Dane or Apollo Crews? What's the point of keeping them inactive on your rosters? You're paying them, might as well have something to do with them, and they'll flourish in NXT because that's how it is. That's how their style goes. It's a conundrum, and it's one of those complicated situations that we as fans don't always think of, where we always think it's so simple. It's just like, oh, just put him back down, put him back into NXT, and he'll be fine. But then, whose push are you killing? Whose momentum are you eliminating by sending this person or persons back to NXT? Something we don't always think about. Keith Lee continues off his promo last week, and he talks about the starts and stops from last year. He feels like he's being passed over for opportunities, and maybe he should change the narratives, like in his upcoming match against Damian Priest, the guys whose name is straight out of a 1990s McFarlane comics. Adam Cole comes out to main event this thing, and he says he talks about showing to the all these morons in the WWE universe, NXT universe, what a true champion is. Well, on his World Bebe Championship tour, and he says, meanwhile, the other guys in the Undisputed Era are gearing up for an undisputed switch of gold. Insinuating that Undisputed Era is going for all the titles, which they are. And he's ready to take on all comers, and he's ready to put his title on the line tonight against this man. Then we cut back to when Johnny Gargano was on his own championship tour and stopped at the wrestling training facility, and put the title up on Twan's shoulder, right? And Twan was sort of overcome with emotion. So Adam Cole says, so tonight my opponent will be this man, Twan Tucker, come on out. And he's actually there, gets a big Full Sail welcome, of course, because Full Sail is into this kind of stuff. So am I. I'm not trying to be reductive. I thought this was fun. Adam Cole says he's giving Twan the chance to slap the taste out of his mouth. He's alone. There's no Undisputed Era, so he doesn't have to worry. He came alone. And Twan says, you're alone? Well, that's a shame, because I didn't come alone. And boom, Johnny Gargano's music hits. And he goes straight after Cole with some super kicks. They brawl into the audience, fight into the production area. Thankfully, no one got electrocuted. Gargano dives off the stage onto Cole, gets Cole back in the ring, locks on the Gargano escape. It was all Johnny. It was an ambush. And Johnny walks away asking for three. Now, what are the three that he could be asking for? Is it the three first letters of the alphabet? No, that's definitely not it. Look, I'm going to keep it short. He wants a rematch. With Adam Cole for the NXT title. And by the looks of it, it's probably going to end up on NXT Toronto 2 and TakeOver 2, I should say, NXT TakeOver Toronto 2. And he is most likely, the way things are being set up right now, it's probably going to be a lot of Falls Count Anywhere, or some kind of stipulation match that will involve them being able to brawl around the arena. So we'll see what happens with that. That was your episode of NXT tonight. Like I said, no real true marquee match, but a solid stuff all around. Riddle and Huas was short, but super effective. Really, really interesting. Breakout tournament match was fine. Great character work by Loomis. That was the story of that match. And Kushida and Apollo Crews, boys and girls. That's one you have to go check out. Next, we have a very skippable edition of NXT UK tonight. That's a shame. I I hate that. I hate it because I want NXT UK to do well. And most of the time it does. But this was one, they happen once every, I'd say, 8 to 9 weeks, or maybe 6 to 7 weeks. Maybe I'm being generous, or maybe I'm being too severe, where there's just one episode where you're like, I really didn't have to watch this week. And this was it. If you're strapped for time, or hey, you know what? Even if you do have the time and you usually watch NXT UK, trust me, you don't have to watch it this week. Go watch the Evolve show. Go watch 10th anniversary Evolve 131 on the network. It's by and large a much better show. And you're going to see some fantastic people. And you're going to see the best brawl that happened all weekend. This incredible weekend of wrestling that we got just last Saturday and Sunday. The best brawl of the weekend between Brandy Lauren and Shotzi Blackheart. Oh, I can't say enough good things about that match. That was a lot of fun. Oh, and there's also Drew Gulak versus Matt Riddle, in case you're interested. But let's move on here. Let's start. Let's go. I mean, it did start off well with two of my favorite guys, Marcel Bartel and Fabian Aichner, versus Saxton Huxley and Tyson Bone, two of my least favorite. So I guess it cancels itself out. Aichner and T-Bone begin. They lock up and Aichner takes early control, hitting a shorter tackle. T-Bone fires back, but Aichner catches him with a power slam, and Tyson T-Bone, not a small guy. Fabian Aichner, let's not forget, competed in the Cruiserweight Classic back then. It's crazy to see how he's developed since then. Huxley tacks in and Bartel joins in for some double teams by Imperium. Bartel follows with some strikes, some kicks, running European uppercut, some ground and pound, follows with some headbutts, the double chop to the throat. I love Bartel's viciousness. Everything he does just seems really, really painful and malevolent. Aichner and Bartel do their tree of woe double drop kicks. Huxley hits a jawbreaker and European uppercuts. He lariats Bartel down. Aichner tags in, but instead of going directly into the ring, Huxley didn't quite catch the tag. So Aichner sneaks over to the opposing corner and takes out Tyson T-Bone, knee striking him against the step. Doesn't Tyson T-Bone? Isn't Tyson? I'm from Canada, right? Isn't Tyson in the United States a brand of prepared food or frozen food, like chicken, bacon, stuff like? Isn't it? It seems to me. Or is it potato? But look, every time I hear Tyson T-Bone, I see a commercial, like an 80s type commercial with the mother lifting up a box of frozen T-bone steaks of the, of Tyson brand. That's always what comes to mind. Then again, maybe I'm hungry. Anyway, Huxley tries to fight off both Bartel and Aichner at the same time, but they do the powerbomb flying back elbow combination on Huxley to win the match. This was fine for what it was. The idea was to make Bartel and Aichner look strong, and if they look strong, Imperium looks strong, and I'm all for continuing the build of Imperium and making them a true force to be reckoned with, because they're all believable. They're all believable badasses. Travis Banks cuts a promo backstage saying that he's devastated to have lost against Walter and his opportunity to have become NXT UK champion, but he promises a new beginning. He says he'll get his act together. Everything will be fine. Next, we have Zaya Brookside versus Ginny. And, of course, Jazzy Gabbard is out with Ginny. Ginny talks some massive shit to Zaya to begin with. but Brookside rolls her up into a cradle for 2, hits a drop kick on Ginny, covers her again for 2. Ginny starts to work the arm, a headlock, but Brookside fights back and hits a cross body block for 2. Ginny follows with a huge strike, and I mean a huge strike. She misses a corner charge. Brookside hits back with double knees to the back of the head, puts her in the tree of woe, but Ginny crunches up to avoid a sliding dropkick, and that's something you don't see every day when someone is in a tree of woe. You're like, well, aren't you some kind of athlete? Shouldn't you be able to crunch out of there? There you go. Good on Ginny. This match all comes to an end when Gabbert trips up Zaya Brookside and Ginny cradles her for the win. I'm running short on time, so I won't go into a massive rant. But listen, it boggles my mind right now. It boggles my mind how with the amount, not just the amount, the depth of women's, the depth of talent they have in the women's division in NXT UK. It blows my mind that the matches that they perform week after week are so tepid. These are women who, literally, WWE went to get the top female talent across the British/European independent circuit. They have Toni Storm. They have Ginny, Kaylee Ray, Nina Samuels, Piper Niven. I said Toni Storm, right? They have Rhea Ripley, of course, in there as well. Jazzy is fantastic as well. Honestly, this is a deep pool of talent that somehow in the match production or the agency of these matches, whatever you want to call it, the women are held back. There's something that is keeping this division corked. And I don't know what it is, because it's not the women. All of these women have fought each other multiple times on the independent circuit. They all know each other. They should all be able to pull off really exciting stuff, but everything week after week is extremely tepid. Kaylee Ray, when she was signed, they made a big deal out of her, and for a very good reason. Kaylee Ray is nuts. Have we seen the insano Kaylee Ray so far in NXT UK? No. Commentary's been putting her over, saying, oh, she's like the female Sabu. She hasn't done anything to even remotely remind us of Sabu or anything mind-blowing. We had Rhea Ripley versus Piper Niven a couple of weeks ago. That should have been and it's something that would have taken our breath away, but it just sort of happened. It wasn't a bad match, but it just happened. I don't understand what the thing. And it goes all the way to the top. Toni Storm's reign right now as NXT UK champion has been as interesting as a potted plant. And that's not a knock on Toni. This is all on the booking. This is all how they're handling this. Feeding your opponents like every 2 or 3 months without much of a buildup, without much interest, and then not letting the match really take off. You kidding me? A few weeks ago, we had Toni Storm versus Nina Samuels, which would have been a main event just about anywhere. Just about anywhere would have been a main event. And it wasn't that good. I honestly think, if my memory serves me correctly, the truly last exciting NXT UK women's match, one that really held my breath, had me gripping my seat. I think it was when the brand officially started, and it was Toni Storm versus Dakota Kai in the first round of the number one contendership for the NXT UK women's title. That's the last time I really remember a really great match, a really great women's match on NXT UK. I don't understand what they're I don't understand how they can have such a deep pool of talent and just not let the women go crazy with it. I don't know what's holding back. I really don't. Imperium's backstage. They're talking about eliminating British Strong Style. They're doing it one by one, and it turns out that Walter is accepting Trent Seven's challenge from last week, and he will break his back, is what he said, because they took out Pete Dunne, they took out Tyler. No, Seven's the only guy who's left. Next week we're gonna get Kenny Williams versus Noam Dar, and we also saw Dave Mastiff and Joe Coffey arguing after their match last week. Toni Storm arrived thinking that she thought Kaylee Ray was her friend, but things have changed. What happened to you, Kaylee? She asked the question. So Kaylee Ray comes out. Ray teases doing their match right now, but no. She's not doing it right now. She won't take her shot tonight, but at TakeOver Cardiff on August 31st, she will. That to me is a banger of a match. This has to be the match that we all expect it to be. It has to be Insano Kaylee Ray and Buzzsaw Toni Storm. I know that's not a nickname, but you know what I mean? Like when she revs up and starts murdering people, she's good. It has to be on that level. I hope it will. Next week we'll actually be getting Kaylee Ray, Ginny, and Jazzy Gabbard versus Toni Storm, Piper Niven, and Zaya Brookside in a 6-women tag team match, the first in NXT UK. Guess who's taking the pin next week? And we're also getting Walter versus Trent Seven. So next week is going to be a very stacked card. Noam Dar versus Kenny Williams, the 6-women tag match. Walter versus Seven should be a lot of fun. Now that's interesting. Main event time is Cassius Ohno versus Mark Andrews. Ohno's been building up to this one for the past couple of weeks, saying that Mark Andrews is the weakest element of the founding fathers of NXT UK. So Mark Andrews has something to prove. They lock up, and Ohno gets early on a cravat. And Andrews escapes the cravat, but Ohno goes back to the cravat. And he grounds Mandrews, covers him for 2. Andrews escapes and evades, hits some drop kicks and an arm drag. He gets Ohno onto the outside. Mandrews goes for the dive through the ropes, but KO catches him. KO catches Ohno. He removes the padding over the steel turnbuckle that connects the turnbuckle to the post, and he lands Andrews face first on it. Back in the ring, and Ohno hits a leg drop, covers Andrews for 2. Ohno grounds Mandrews, chokes him out on the ropes. Andrews tries to fight back, but Ohno chokes him some more. And then Ohno reverses back to the cravat. He stretches Andrews and back breaks him over his knee, covers Andrews, but again only gets 2. He follows with some kicks, but Andrews fights back. Ohno then dumps him to the floor. He follows out, lays in some strikes, some chops, and tells Andrews that he doesn't belong in the same ring as he, for he is a wrestling genius. Cassius Ohno is so good. Andrews fires back with an enziguri, though, and he hits another one and a third one, and Ohno gets back onto the floor. Andrews hits a tope into a Hurricane Rana. Back in the ring, Andrew goes up top and hits a Hurricane Rana, covers for 2, followed by the standing moonsault, covers again, but only gets 2. But Ono fights back with a slicing chop across the throat. Andrews then eats an elbow to the back of the head, gets covered again, and he kicks out at 2. Ono then gets him up in an electric chair and drops Mandrews, covers him, but again, he kicks out at 2. Ono with some more strikes and chops, but it fires Andrews up. He hulks up and starts fighting back with a flurry of chops. Ono puts that, Ono says, no. You take this flurry of offense back, young sir. Here's a knee strike for you. Andrews sorta hits a reverse Rana on Cassius. Not. Covers him, but only gets 2. Ono then blocks a DDT by Andrews, who instead hits Stundog Millionaire and a DDT. Covers Ono, but again only gets 2. Andrews heads up top, goes for the shooting star press, but he's intercepted into another cravat, which leads into the main event, the cravat suplex, which is something we do not see every day. I kind of popped for that. God bless you, Chris Hero. He goes for the cyclone kick, but Andrews reverses it and cradles Ono for the surprise upset out of nowhere win. Good little match. It was fun. If only to see Cassius Ono just be completely in control of a ring. That's always something to see. He is such an incredible talent, and he is flourishing in NXT UK right now. He has definitely found his groove here, and they are letting him be Cassius Ono as well. But as I said, otherwise, entirely skippable episode of NXT UK. But I'm telling you, folks, do not sleep on Gallagher versus Gable 2. You'll thank me when you watch it. You will. You'll go into the comments here on Patreon, and you'll just like, thank you, Warren. Thank you, Warren. And I'm going to thank you for watching, either if you joined us live or whenever you found it appropriate, possible for you to jump in and join me here on my weekly 205 Live NXT UK recap show. I'll be back next week to talk some more. In the meantime, continue taking full advantage of Fightful Select. Hope you keep enjoying all the content that we're putting out for you. We can't thank you enough for your support, and I will see you next time.